Apple's fall event is likely to take place very soon, where they're expected to introduce a MacBook that we believe will most probably outclass the latest MacBook with the M2 chip. But what else should you expect from Apple in September, October, and why shouldn't you buy the M2 MacBook now? Buckle up! It's about to get exciting. You probably know that before WWDC this summer, Mac Mini computers with the M2 chip and the Mac Mini Tower appeared on the website of Apple's largest US retailer, B&H Photo. We expected to see 2 new Mac Mini computers in June, but it didn't happen. These are Mac Mini with M2 chip and Mac Mini Tower with M1 Pro chip. Both versions were supposed to have at least 8GB of RAM and 256GB SSD, so now what? They won't be introduced at all? We have some information on that too for fans of Apple desktop computers. But at the summer event, we got the new Apple M2 chip in the new MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, but we know that Apple is preparing several modifications of it, and if you missed my review on the M2 MacBook Air, then click here to stay in the loop. Mark Gurman from Bloomberg has repeatedly provided accurate insider information, and according to him, Apple should introduce 4 more modifications of the M2 processor. There were M1 Pro, M1 Max, M1 Ultra, and the 4th, my friends, is M2 Extreme. But first things first. It's been about a year and a half since Apple introduced the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, and it offers the best combination of performance and price. And now that Apple released the M2 Air and Pro, attention has shifted to the Mac Mini, which had been largely overlooked at WWDC. Meanwhile, the Mac Mini users are looking forward to the long-awaited M2 chip upgrade. Work on the new M2 Mac Mini is clearly in progress right now. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reported that Apple is testing the M2 Mac Mini under the codename J473 with 8 CPU cores and 10 GPU cores. Gurman also indicated that Apple is testing a Mac Mini with the M1 Pro, codename J374, and M1 Max Mac Mini, but this model may be discontinued. But when will they introduce the new Mac Mini? I'll do a quick detective role play for you. Apple introduced the M1 chip in the Mac Mini, MacBook Air, and the 13-inch MacBook Pro at the One More Thing event on November 10th, 2020. 2 of those Macs are now equipped with M2 chips, so what about the Mac Mini? As the M1 Mac Mini nears its 2-year anniversary, a fall 2022 M2 Mac Mini release looks not only likely, but rather belated. And even then, if you like to work from one place, the point of buying a MacBook is lost completely. Using a Mac constantly connected to a power supply is not the best idea, but there was already a video about it on the channel, so you can also click here to stay in the loop. The Mac Mini has had a similar boxy design since its introduction in 2005. It got thinner over time, lost its CD drive, and changed color. According to some rumors, the new Mac Mini may get a completely new design. John Prosser stated back in June 2021 that the next Mac Mini will shrink even further, which could result in it being less than an inch tall. The body may also change. While the Mac Mini has had an aluminum body since 2K10, Prosser claims Apple is reportedly considering using plexiglass. This could mean that Apple will bring a little flair to the Mac Mini with a new color. Mac Mini is currently limited to silver and space gray. It should be noted that Prosser has been wrong several times in the past. He had some successful hits, but one of his misses was so serious that he had to shave off his eyebrows. So this information should be taken with a grain of salt. Apple Track currently gives it an accuracy rating of 69.9% as of the time of making this video, and this score is constantly changing. Ian Zalbo made several illustrations based on Prosser's findings. The renders show that the new Mac Mini will be available in silver and white rather than one of the bright new color options seen on the 24-inch iMac. These renders are based on info from Prosser sources, but they can still give a good idea of what Apple has to offer. Prosser isn't the only one looking forward to the new Mac Mini design. In August 2021, Mark Gurman reported that the Mac Mini will have an updated design and more ports than the current model. Finally, the round rubber pad at the bottom of the new Mac Mini is said to have been replaced with 2 horizontal stripes, as we see on the other side of the iMac 24-inch stand. However, there may not be any changes at all. In March 2022, a tweet from an account said to belong to analyst Ming-Chi Kuo stated that the 2023 Mac Mini would have the same shape and design as the current model. So now we more or less have some understanding of the intended direction of the design, but how are things going with what's on the inside of the devices? The new Mac Mini will likely get the same M2 chip found in the new 2022 MacBook Air and 13-inch MacBook Pro. Also, for more demanding users, there will be a version with the M2 Pro chip. It is likely that the performance increase relative to the previous generation will be in the realm of 20 to 30%, but not more. However, these are pure speculations on my part. We can fact check me during the Apple event. What about the ports in the new Mac Mini? Current Mac Mini models have two USB 4 ports, two USB-A ports, an HDMI 2.0 port, and an Ethernet and headphone port. It's likely that this will carry over to the new Mac Mini as well. The Mac Mini version of the M2 Pro can get two additional Thunderbolt ports for a total of 4. Prosser also says the new Mac Mini will likely not get the SD card slot found on the MacBook Pro and Mac Studio. Sadly enough, but maybe rightly so, Apple is probably thinking content creators benefit from choosing Mac Studio and therefore should pay us more. Finally, Gurman believes that Apple plans to introduce the M2 Ultra and M2 Extreme chips. The company has previously hinted that the Mac Pro could be released soon, but no further details have been released. Perhaps these are the processor intended for the Mac Pro, and yes, the Mac Pro is slowly but surely waiting for its upgrade following the MacBooks, Mac Mini, and iMac, but whether it will happen in the fall, the question remains open. Mark Gurman mentions 3 important points. The M1 Ultra will be the last of its generation, the 27-inch iMac model will be discontinued, with the new Mac Pro coming later. This suggests that the Mac Pro will wait for the flagship M2 generation processor. We won't immediately see all of the suggested updates at once, at the very least because Apple's plans are known to change almost daily. In addition, many unforeseen events such as the COVID pandemic slow down the process. One thing is clear so far: the collection of M2 chips will expand, along with the appearance of the upcoming devices they're installed in way into next year. It's expected that the Apple M2 family will include the flagship M2 Extreme chip made by combining two M2 Ultra. It will offer 48 computing and 96 to 128 graphics cores. Respectively, a single M2 Ultra will be limited to 24 cores and 48 or 64 graphics. All the younger devices of this line will have more modest specs. M2 Max will get 12 computing and 32 graphics cores. M2 Pro will combine 12 computing and 16 graphics cores, and M2 is destined to start a dynasty with 8 computing and 9 to 10 graphics cores. As Mark Gurman speculates, the following devices will be offered by the end of next year: MacBook Pro with M2 Pro and M2 Max chips, equipped with a 14 and 16 inches display, iMac Pro with M2 Pro and M2 Max chips, Mac Studio with M2 Max and M2 Ultra, Mac Pro with M2 Ultra and M2 Extreme chips, and 7K Apple Pro display. In the consumer segment, the following devices are expected to be announced before the end of next year: Mac Mini with M2 and M2 Pro and Apple Studio display. Interestingly enough, in March 2022, Apple discontinued the Intel-based 27-inch version of the iMac, leaving only the 24-inch iMac, but that doesn't mean the new larger screen iMac retired. Some rumors suggest that it's still in development and could launch later this or next year, but not all sources agree on the future of the iMac. For now, Apple has replaced the 27-inch iMac with the Mac Studio and its Studio display. Rumor has it that the upgraded larger screen iMac could be similar in design to the 24-inch iMac, Pro Display XDR or Studio display. It is said to have a black bezel, and if it really looks like the Pro Display XDR, the bezel size could be much thinner and the bottom panel could be smaller. And that's what's interesting. Quite recently, Apple has patented the possible design of an iMac or even a Pro display. What's interesting is the possible use cases for the new device. As stated in this very patent, users will be able to have a curved surface on the bottom of which it will be possible to either put a keyboard with a Magic Trackpad, or this surface will have a cutout for putting a MacBook in it. And right now on YouTube, there's already a 3D render of a possible device from concept creator Let's Go Digital. And thanks to him, we can see how this device could look like in real life. And that really reminds of the good old Apple with unconventional solutions, which not all giant companies are capable of. In any case, the patent doesn't mean production status. Maybe we'll see something like that in the near future, or maybe Apple just wants to protect their ideas beforehand and make money from alternatives in the future. And here I'm extremely interested in your opinion. Would you buy a similar device from Apple acceptable or is it too much? For now, let's get back to iMacs. Like the 24-inch iMac, the upcoming 27-inch model may be available in multiple finishes. The Digitimes report says that Apple plans to sell the new iMac in a variety of color options, although there are no specific details on which colors Apple will use. But the 24-inch iMac doesn't seem to be updated this year, and the updated version will be available immediately with the M3 chip or not. We have to think a little. Last April, Apple introduced the 24-inch iMac with the M1 chip and a stunning new design with multiple color options. Amid the release of the first Macs with the M2 chip, the 13-inch MacBook Pro and the redesigned MacBook Air, people began wondering whether the 24-inch iMac could get a similar upgrade with the M2 chip, especially now that it's over a year old. The iMac with the M2 chip was missing from Gurman's prediction for future M2 Macs in Apple's product roadmap, which includes new Mac Mini models with M2 and M2 Pro chips, new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro models with M2 Pro and M2 Max, and new Mac Pro with M2 Ultra and M2 Extreme chips. Gurman said that following the Mac M2 series of computers, the new iMac will be one of the first of the M3 line Macs, which will include an updated 13-inch MacBook Air, an all-new 15-inch MacBook Air, and possibly a new 12-inch laptop, which is still in early development. The device is expected to be the successor to the current M1 iMac and may not be released until late 2023, according to Gurman. The M3 chip is rumored to be built using TSMC's 3nm process, unlike the M1 and M2, which are built using a 5nm process. The M2 lineup hasn't been fully introduced yet, and insiders are already speculating about the M3? Yes, that's possible too. A more advanced manufacturing process will lead to significant increases in performance and efficiency. Apple is also believed to be working on a high-end iMac model that uses M3 series chips. It's not yet clear why Apple would drop the iMac from the M2 chip and exclude it from the update until the M3 chip is available, especially since that means the current M1 model will have to be around for a longer time. What about the new MacBook Pros on the new M2 Pro and M2 Max chips? Judging by the latest Power On info, Apple is already working on releasing new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros with the upcoming M2 Pro and M2 Max chips. It turned out that the new MacBook Pro models will be more or less identical to the current ones, but with higher performance than the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. As such, we can expect better notch displays and improved array of ports and more. In addition, the M2 Pro and M2 Max are said to be graphics focused, much like the standard M2 model. For those who don't know, the M2 chip offers 18% better performance and a 35% better GPU. So we can also expect the M2 Pro and M2 Max to provide some improvements over the standard M2. This should be useful for video editors and other graphics-related professionals. We also have a possible schedule for the new MacBook Pro releases. The updated 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros will be released this fall through spring 2023. However, this shouldn't be taken at face value, for it isn't an official timetable and there is always a possibility that the launch dates could be delayed. Even the sales release schedule may have some delays, and at the moment there are no official reports about it. Based on everything I've talked about in this video, I don't recommend getting the Pro Series devices now, if you haven't yet. They are still good both in terms of performance and appearance, but imagine your disappointment if you get a Pro MacBook now and in a month all new and improved MacBook Pros get released at the same price. Just be a little more patient. And if you need a Pro device as soon as possible, get the one that's available and then wait for the new M3, which should be out next year or early 2024. But in the meantime, smash the like button if this video was helpful to you. Go ahead and click on this video and this one, and see you in the next one.